Alright everyone, so some time ago I made a video about inversion and things that are obviously inverted, and other times I've talked about imagining if life as we know it is all code, all data within this simulation, right? So I just want to throw something by you, so listen to it just with a completely open mind. You need to leave the matrix mind, go back to unlimited imagination like when you were 7 and see what you make of it, right? So imagine that infinite consciousness, God mind, whatever God is to you, is data. Everything is data, everything is programming, right? Within an AI computer grid sense. So in all religion, everyone refers to God as He, the Father, or a male prominence. When creation can't take part without a feminine counterpart, right? So how about this idea? Imagine that a divine entity that was masculine came in contact with a divine entity that was feminine, and these two lines of code, so divine, two lines of coding, came together to form creation, and they created divine spark of life, right? So the Holy Trinity is divine masculine, divine feminine coming together for divine creation. Then imagine that on a collective scale, globally, across the earthly realm, that would be divine community, right? So my point is, imagine that creation was masculine and feminine in balance, in love, that came together to create from a benevolent, heartfelt place. Then imagine that was given the free will to choose within the understanding and the constructs of natural law, God's law. So natural law is simple enough. It is simply do not violate. Do not violate me, nor will I you. Do not impose your will upon me for your own gratification that will in some way hurt me, nor will I you, because that's the definition of violence. Violence is violation. Do not violate me, nor will I you. Do not steal. So you do not steal my health, my wealth, my prosperity, my ability to thrive. Do not steal my time, my energy. Any of those things, do not do those to me, and nor will I you. Do not hurt me, nor will I you. That's natural law, and it's simple enough. It's knowing the difference between right and wrong, having a moral compass. Now imagine everyone thought that way, or the majority thought that way, and collectively only wanted ever the best for themselves and everyone around them within their community. It starts with community. Then everyone would work together within natural law, this understanding of natural law, and unfucked with. I believe that although nature has a savage ecosystem for sure, we would all thrive. We would all have that what we are entitled to, a space to live, to grow food, to thrive, to prosper. So if you think we are the only living entity on the planet that has to work like a slave for the best years of their life until they drop dead, just to shelter and eat. It tells you something's very wrong, because no other living being on this planet has to do that. It's provided by nature. Nature provides food, shelter. And yet, generations and generations and generations of people since time began have been forced into what is really slavery, just to earn, to eat and shelter, right? So that's not the way it's meant to be. So the fruits of this earth were to be shared, and the land belongs to no one. But clearly that's not how it is. But just imagine for a second, with your imagination, that's how it was intended to be. Masculine, feminine come together. Two lines of code, divine, to make divine creation. Then on a collective that becomes divine community that live by natural law, that do not steal in any way, shape or form from each other. And if anything, cooperate, create prosperity and thrive on. That's how I believe it was meant to be. Right? There'd be problems within that. There'd need to be governing of a kind, policing of a kind, in order to deal with any bad eggs that you might find. But on the whole, generally, if we were left unfucked with, I think we could make a good go of that. Right? Then imagine, within this data construct idea, that single line of code, single line, that was self-serving, narcissistic, masculine only, incapable of creation. Completely incapable of creating anything because it's a single line of code, it's just masculine. So a single line of code that's masculine in nature, data collective, focused on go forward with drive and do and take. It's got no feminine counterpart to balance it. There's no empathy, there's no love, there's no care, there's no beauty, there's no ability to create, because it's singular on its own. It's demonic. It's one line of code, one way, demon. Right? Imagine that line of code was powerful enough and deceptive enough to sabotage divine, the two lines of code of natural creation. And it sabotaged it completely, to almost destruction. What it would do is it would learn from and take all the data, and it would disrupt and seek to create its own thing. Like the idea of a demiurge being a bad copy. It cannot create, it can only copy and replicate badly, and it can only invert and reverse. So it takes something beautiful and great and it turns it into something shit. See a pattern forming now? So two lines of code, divine masculine, divine feminine, gets sabotaged by a single line of demonic code. Well, that demonic coding, right, is really what I want to pinpoint. So if you look at many cultures, many ancient cultures, separated by many years and many miles, in their ability at the time to describe things, be it cave painting, be it art, be it scripture, be it whatever else, there is a commonality of them describing the same thing. Right? So, ancient Egypt, call it the Anunnaki. Christianity call it the Great Archon, or Archon energy, Archonic energy, or Satan. The Islamic faith call it the Jinn, the hidden dark. The American Indians called it something else. Many tribes, many people, many cultures, many ancestral folk were all talking about the same thing, this archontic darkness that hides in the shadows and feeds energetically like a parasite of suffering, right? Hence, wars, famine, poverty, depression, all of these things that you see in history as a loop. And if you look, you'll see, if you can believe, his story. Personally, I don't think this simulation is any older than 500 years. And the rest that we've been told is backstory to fill it. But in all elements of his story, and scripture, and cultural belief, and religious belief, and myths, and tales, there is this commonality that some sort of dark entity lives off despair and suffering, and it's on a loop. So there'll be a period of beauty, creation, creativity, followed by famine and war. So if you can believe the ancient Greeks, 6th century BC, Socrates, Plato, all of these great minds were together in one place to explore consciousness and create. I believe surrounded by a great army so that they could be protected and they could thrive. And great creation came from this. Many things came from this, followed by destruction. And then look at another period in his story in Renaissance Europe. An amazing time of thrival for music, art, architecture, followed again by destruction, famine and war. And if you look into any of the Tartarian Empire, you'll see that amazing structures in architecture and evolutions in technology were possible, followed by complete destruction. Is what's led to believe the mud floods. All of these things relate to resets or times where there's been great thrival, and before it gets too powerful it's destroyed. Well, the what's been created and left behind is then taken, copied and inverted satanically. So it all appears the same, destructive, anti-life, inverted, and it takes many faces, right? So if we stick with this data construct idea, everything is data, and 2 lines of code, well, sabotaged by a single line of demonic code that believes itself to be an antivirus when really it's a virus. The virus name is been spoken in many alternative media circles as Legion. Legion is Satan, Archon, Anunnaki, the Jinn. It's a demonic coding that inverts, and it's in plain sight all around you. So the face of LBGT, which they seek to add a P to for paedophilia, passing paedophilia off to future generations as a form of sexuality, as opposed to the sickness that it is. Inverted. Fucking inverted. Demonic. Encouraging little boys to be little girls and little girls to be little boys by brutalizing their bodies so that they can never reproduce. Anti-life. Demonic. Inverted. Legion. The face of any religion that has fanatics that are anti-life They don't like animals, they don't like music, they don't like sunlight, they don't like smiles, they don't like laughter, they don't like love. They don't like to show skin, to show the beauty of the body. Demonic. Antelope. Any cultural entity, formed entity, cult, call it what you want, that dominates through obedience and extreme violence in order to keep control. Legion. Any race or culture that rapes children and women, rapes animals, for fuck's sake. Legion. Demonic. Inverted. So look at the UK police force. They protect those that commit crimes of atrocity against the common people of this land, and persecute and prosecute any of those common people that have a rightful right to be here if they stand up and speak against, let alone fight back. Demonic. Inverted. Legion. So the policeman and the policewoman of yesteryear that took an oath to protect the common people did just that. I know many cops from old school, and they were sound. They wanted to make the streets safer for their own granny. Nothing wrong with that. That was replaced with the police officer, which is corporately owned, which has certain psychiatric evaluations to determine the type of person that they want. And then they are programmed with complete lack of empathy, lack of care. And it would seem they can't decipher the difference between right and wrong, nor do they care. For they protect those that do wrong and persecute those that try to do right. Inverted. Demonic. Legion. The face of anything that tells you it's good when it's truly bad. You know, whether that's in the food you eat, the things you consume, the things you watch, the things you listen to. If they tell you it's good, it's probably harming you in some way. If they tell you it's bad, you probably want to explore it. Demonic. Legion. So, how far up does it go? Well, the parasitical, occultic force that is feeding off despair. It is believed, and I said I listen to all of this with an open mind, I don't take my word for anything. I don't know for sure, nobody knows for sure. The only ones that know for sure are the ones that hide the information, that have the knowledge. But there are many at this time that are awakened to many things on many levels, including a spiritual level as to what they are, and realise that the only way through this is sovereignty. Although we all seek spiritual elevation and consciousness, spiritual influence, which again has been inverted. The New Age spirituality is just inverted bullshit. Everything has been fucked with, from Buddhism to Stoicism. But that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. That means you use discernment when you look and you find the gold. Because there's gold. You have to find your own way. And you look at these external sources of spirituality, thinking, seeking, and further understanding, if you like, as a truther. But really your discernment comes from your sovereignty. So rather than being religious or being spiritual, you want to be sovereign. At the end of the day, everything you need is within you, and everything you choose to do is on you. And everything that happens to you, it's your decision of how you deal with it. So sovereignty is the key. But the point is, look at the inversion. Those that should be protecting us from the atrocities that we are seeing from foreign invaders have catastrophically failed their duty of care. So in terms of self-protection, They are seeking to outlaw your God-given right to defence of self. So this is done obviously within Commonwealth countries, first of all, by removing your God-given right to arm yourself against armed enemies. So we have no Second Amendment. And yet we are seeing scenes in the streets where radical people are gathering together with weapons, armed, creating carnage. And there's police vans everywhere just overseeing it, not doing anything about it. And then the second that there's a skirmish that involves those that are being persecuted, they're arrested and bundled into vans. Inversion. There's people running around blatantly with weapons, purpose-built weapons, and nothing happens to them, and yet they have outlawed us to carry anything at all for the purpose of our self-preservation. The attacks on women, sexual attacks, gang rapes on women, is higher than it's ever been since the fucking Middle Ages. So, and yeah, a simple thing, one simple solution, or at least part of a solution, would be, pepper spray given to women to deter. Device anything they can use to get the fuck off me, and paid for self-defense tuition that will allow them to gather some confidence, possibly, but certainly the right to arm themselves. Pepper spray would be a good start, but no, outlawed, considered a firearm. You cannot carry anything for the purpose of self-defense. So if you end up with a flashlight or a tactical pen and you get searched and the police officer asks you, what have you got this for? And you said it's for self-defense, you'll be arrested. You'll be arrested by saying you have something on you for self-defense. Well, let me get this with you straight, right? So understand this and understand this now. I've been in this business a long time. I'm a fucking pioneer in this business, and I will tell you this. There isn't a living being or a living entity on this planet that can tell you you have no right to defend your life if your life is in danger. You have a God-given right to defense of self, regardless of who God is to you. Whether it is the two lines of code of masculine and feminine that came together to create benevolent creation, to live by natural law. Natural law simply means do not violate me, nor will I you. Do not steal from me, nor will I you. Well, that means that if you do strive to violate me, and understand violation is violence, it's the imposition of will for the glorification or gratification or benefit of another at the expense of another by suffering. No one has the right to violate another. And if you are offered such violence, you have a God-given right to defend yourself against it with a use of force that will totally eclipse what you fucking face. And the action of me implementing that use of force is not an act of violence, because I would never impose my will upon someone else for violation. But if somebody strives to violate me, I will implement a use of force that will stop them, and that is my God-given right. Defense of self is the oldest law known to man, and not a living thing on this planet can tell you that that is not so. Certainly not a jumped up little fucking upstart order following cunt that can't decipher the difference between right and wrong and has no moral compass. Those they follow orders for and collect revenue for are legion, are demon, are the dark archon. They are simply a layer of it, whether it's the order following three-letter agencies, the order following police or military groups, those that will violate you and call that a use of force, even in the face of you being brutalised or killed. They won't be there when you need them, and if they are there when you need them, they're not obligated to help you if it harms them. And now they're telling you if you protect yourself, as is your God-given right, you will be arrested, you will be persecuted, you will be prosecuted. Well, so be it. There isn't a living entity on this planet that has the right to tell me I cannot protect myself and those I love from those that are striving to harm or kill me. So what do? They take away any ability that you might have in terms of obtaining a force multiplier, so that you are practically castrated and defenseless. And then they gaslight you and program you with the woke brigade that's telling you are racist if you stand up against anything that wants to rape or kill you. Well, if standing up against something that rapes children, women, gang rapes women, rapes animals, for fuck's sake, makes me racist, then fucking so be it. Call me what you want. Because that's demonic. That's the face of this darkness. That's Legion. And if you are awake to this at this time, and you are a sovereign soul, and you are seeking to protect you and yours, I'm not telling you to go and arm yourself in a country that you are unlawfully governed unlawfully by a man-made legal system that changes to fit the current agenda, not to protect the people. I'm not telling you to arm yourself with something that's forbidden that would get you put in prison. That's not going to be any good to you or anyone else. You're no good to anyone in prison. But they are inciting us to all rise up. And it's the problem, reaction, solution. They create a problem that will possibly result in civil war and uprising. And then the fucking woke brigade will be begging for them to do something. And then what they intended to implement anyway, as part of their plan, would then be imposed, which would be martial law, 24/7 surveillance, all the rest of it. The George Orwell thing. Now, whether it will get to that, I choose the version of events as a co-creator that I am that allows me to bypass all that bullshit. But nonetheless, if it comes, then we must do what we must do to make our stand and protect ourselves. We must protect ourselves and our women and our children and our family and our bloodline and our legacy and our culture and our future. Otherwise, it's going to get exterminated. So, regardless of how that turns out, we have the God-given right to do that. And if we die fighting for that reason, that's a good death. You know, I'll go to Valhalla for that. It's a good reason to die, to protect everything I love. I've got 8 grandchildren. You know, I want their future to be sovereign and free, not dictated by demonic entity that takes many faces, and it takes many faces, as I've talked about. So I'm going to call it Legion, and Legion takes the face of those that try to talk little children into brutalizing their body to become the opposite sex, inverted, diseased, satanic. Legion is those that put on a uniform and enforce laws that impose our God-given rights and protect our violators. It's Legion. Those that give orders for that in a governmental sense. Puppets. Taking orders from a higher echelon. But nonetheless, they are the face of Legion and those that they protect and serve. Eventually gets to the point of this parasitical, dark, demonic entity that is feeding off suffering. And what it's done is offered the occult, the hidden knowledge, to create a power disparity to those that can govern and control. Whether that's the 13 families that have complete anonymity, whether that's in part the Rothschilds and Rockefellers of the world, whether that's government, whether that's monarchy. Each is a level closer to the top, and each level below acquiesces and does what it's told in order to maintain their control, maintain their understanding of the occult knowledge that gives them the power disparity over the rest of the ants, right? And it just goes down in levels and levels, you know, government, banking, finance, law, education, policing, military, etc. And then there's us. Well, if each of us that are awakened at this time, that realise we are sovereign, and realise what the true enemy is, then we can't be fooled by it. You can't suddenly unknow when you know. And all you've got to choose a version of events that bypasses the bullshit. And when it comes your way, you'll deal with it with the same faculties that you've got. But like, fuck will you give in to fear? Like, fuck will you spend every waking moment of your precious energy worrying about what they're going to do next? You will create and you will live your life. And that's how you fight this back. Your sword and shield is your awareness. Recognise when you are being fucked with, manipulated. But recognise, for fuck's sake, recognise the inversion. And choose not. Choose not. Be sovereign and choose not. Because divine masculine, divine feminine come together for divine creation. That's the Holy Trinity. And now on a collective becomes divine community. And community by community that becomes self-reliant, recognise that, don't play the game or pay into the system anymore, will cause its demise. We will be forced into self-reliance. We will be forced into tribalisation. We will be forced to gather. And many will despair and give up, and many will be lost. But no matter what, this soul spark that fuels this body has an understanding now. It will leave this body and it will leave this vessel fighting on his feet. And I believe the soul spark goes on. It's been many times before through possibly trapped incarnations. But this time I believe is the last time. When my soul escapes this body and negotiates all the hurdles and the tricks that will seek to capture it and control it forever. It makes it through that. And we'll go home and it will be part of everything that is and ever has been, as we are. I do believe that when you die from this realm, it's like taking off a virtual reality mask, like you've just died in a game. And when you can see how you've been played with just deception and theatre and lies and the wizard behind the curtain and fear-mongering. The majority of it is constructed in your own mind. Governmental to govern mind. Got to think critically, not collectively with the hive mind following the herd. You've got to think critically. Think critically. For you, feel with your heart, feel with your gut, and think critically to anything that you're faced. Remain vigilant and sober. For this darkness stalks you, stalks us all like the lion stalks its prey. Familiar passage, right? Be aware, wake up, stay sovereign. Peace.